All right, joining me now, TSN hockey insider, one of our favorites, Pierre LeBrun. Pierre, you know it as well as anyone. It has been a wild couple of weeks for the Ottawa Senators, and not in a good way. How important was this Wednesday night win, not only for the players and the morale, but maybe even for D.J. Smith's job security?
This was not a run-of-the-mill Wednesday night win in November in Toronto. Let me tell you, standing outside the Senators' dressing room here, Jay, on this night after the game, owner Michael Landlauer walked by. We had a brief chat, and his first thing out of his mouth was, that was a big one for the boys. He was happy for the players, given everything that has transpired over the last couple of weeks, as you suggest. And Steve Staios and Claude Giroux had the kind of handshake, again, that didn't suggest this was just another win between the leader. Claude Giroux had a huge night on the ice, and, of course, Steve Staios, who spoke to the players a couple of days ago, by the way, Jay, and just tried to calm the waters and assure them that they would get through all this together, through this adversity. And yes, of course, I mean, D.J. Smith with the chance last week in Ottawa, some fans in Ottawa, you know, chanting they wanted him fired. All of this is relief on this night here in Toronto. They deserve the win. They outplayed the Leafs, and they were led by their leaders on this night. A huge win for the Ottawa Senators.
So it's all positive vibes for the Ottawa Senators, and in Edmonton, it's the exact opposite. Now, Jack Campbell clears waivers on Wednesday. He's been assigned to the Bakersfield Condors. This is the interesting thing to me, Pierre. Campbell's struggles have been well documented, of course, but after Wednesday's demotion, it was Campbell's teammates and coach who say they feel like they let him down.
It's an organizational decision, first of all. The message that it gets sent is, you know, we're 2-8-1. For us to come back and just keep trotting the same thing out, can't do that. Not acceptable. Unfortunately, for someone of Jack's character and someone who's such a great teammate, he's one of those pieces that is being you know, forced to move.
Would there be more messages to be sent?
Well, we'll see. We'll see how the team responds to this this message.
Yeah, you heard the reporter, you know, allude to the fact, you know, have we seen the last of Jack Campbell in Edmonton? Pierre, what do you think? It seems hard to believe after all the work he put in the offseason. It's only the second year of the deal, but do you think we'll see Campbell back in an Oilers uniform?
Yeah, I still think there's a chance. I mean, they want him to go down and find his game. I mean, obviously, listen, they thought that he would use the offseason to bounce back and find his game. That was the great hope after a disastrous opening year on that contract. It has not happened. Yeah, he had a good preseason, but then the real hockey started, and it's been mostly a real tough struggle for Jack Campbell, who clearly has confidence issues right now. So they want him to go to Bakersfield and find that. But, you know, it's not just goaltending, although you can't just go past it. They have the worst save percentage in the NHL. And I think what it has done for this team is it snowballed and affected other areas of their game. This is a fragile hockey team, and it's crazy to think that a team that's won 3 playoff series the last couple of years, been knocked out by the eventual Stanley Cup champion 2 years in a row, and of course, a very popular pick to win the Cup, is completely at a loss right now. You know, they're not scoring like they have. Terrible on the penalty kill. As soon as a goal goes in, their shoulders slump, and there's a real a letdown in their game. It's a fragile team. I don't use that word easily, okay, because these are proud athletes, and this is a good hockey team when they're going. But right now, the opening 5 minutes of that game in San Jose tomorrow night will be gigantic for where this season goes for the Edmonton Oilers.
Yeah, the viewership of that game is going to boggle minds, I think, because there's so much at stake here, Pierre. 2 wins in their first 11 games, and you alluded to it. It's a fragile team, but there's only so much you can do up against the salary cap. Do you think Jay Woodcroft's job is hanging on the line here based on what might happen on Thursday night?
You know, I mean, listen, talking to someone, you know, close to it yesterday, my sense was that the Oilers organization management still feels that that is not a team that has quit on their coach, that they're still playing hard for Jay Woodcroft. So that's the first indicator, the first thing you look at when you're a management group trying to decide if you're going to make that very difficult decision. But I'm not ready to tell you what would happen if they lose in San Jose and lose a couple more. I mean, And it's crazy. This is a guy that since coming in 2 years ago, I had the second best winning percentage among coaches. And again, coached this team to 3 playoff wins. Had them knocking at the door. It seems almost unreal that we're talking about Jay Woodcroft's job security, but it's a conversation that no doubt the Oilers have to have internally if this losing continues. That's just reality.
Pierre, isn't it interesting? You know, you think Jack Campbell's going to bounce back this season. It doesn't happen. We certainly thought the same about Jonathan Huberdeau. I mean, we thought there's just no way that he could come out of the gates struggling this way, and yet he was benched, as we know, in the third period of Calgary's comeback win on Tuesday. And here, Pierre, is Huberdeau speaking to the media on Wednesday about where he goes from here.
I always want to look forward. I mean, I can't think in the past, so, you use that as, it's just frustration. I mean, obviously you don't want to, it's humiliating. You don't want to be sitting on the bench and see your guys, the guys work hard on the ice, and, you're just out there, just sitting on there. But it wasn't easy, I'm not going to lie, but it was a coaching decision, and I think you move on from there. We got me and Huss talk it out. And I think there's no pointing fingers. You got to look in the mirror, and I got to be a better player. And I know I got it in me. I still believe. I still believe in myself. So that's what I just gotta show it on the ice. If I found the solution, I probably wouldn't be sitting on the bench last night. So it's something you work every day. I mean, I want to find a solution to help to be a good player in this team.
Pierre, you heard him say it. If he knew the solution, he probably wouldn't have been sitting on the bench. So at the very least, could Tuesday's benching be the spark that Huberdeau needs? Just 2 months, by the way, into that 8-year monster contract.
First of all, the symmetry of that happening in Jonathan Huberdeau 3 days after Johnny Gaudreau got benched in the third period by Columbus over the weekend. Come on. Tell me you didn't think of that, Jay. I mean, of course, kidding. Gaudreau leaving Calgary for Columbus in the summer of 2022 forced a chain of events that sees Florida trade Huberdeau, Mackenzie Weegar to Calgary for Matthew Tkachuk. It's kind of uncanny that those 2 star players get benched in the third period 3 days apart. But that's the other thing is we've seen a lot of big-name players benched so far this season. Kind of weird. Like, it's not something we had seen in the game for many years. And then suddenly now we're seeing it every night, like Huberdeau the other night. And since the moment Huberdeau has arrived in Calgary last year, he has not been a good fit. And that can change, obviously. This guy is a very talented hockey player, but we have more than a sample size here to suggest that it's just not been a good fit. And where you go from here, well, right now that contract's untradeable. He has to figure it out and figure it out in Calgary. But I tell you what, one last thing I would say on that. Do you remember how many people criticized the Florida Panthers and GM Bill Zito for making that trade with Calgary at the time? The Panthers, you may remember, had won the President's Trophy in the regular season in 21-22 and trade 2 core pieces in Jonathan Huberdeau, who was a very popular player in Florida, and Mackenzie Weegar to Calgary for Matthew Tkachuk. And yeah, everyone knew Tkachuk was a really good player, but 2 for 1, 2 core guys for 1 core guy. Zito got roasted for that deal by a lot of people, and right now that's looking like a lopsided deal for the Florida Panthers.
Boy, is it ever. You make a great point there. Patrick Kane remains unsigned, continues to work his way back after that surgery. Any word, Pierre, on potential landing spots for Kane?
Well, let's start with the update, which is that I spoke with his agent, Pat Brisson, on Tuesday night, Jay, and what he said is they've started finally doing the interview process with teams. The coaches and GMs talking to Pat Brisson and to Patrick Kane, trying to see where that fit might be. There's no timeline on making a decision. Could take a couple of weeks, could take more. But the one thing Pat Brisson said was that they would limit the field, that it would be 5 to 6 teams max, even though there were at least a dozen teams that originally showed interest back in the summer. So they've cut down the list right away. Now it's a question of seeing where the fit is on both sides. Now, Pat Brisson refused to confirm teams, but in doing a little other digging here and there, a couple of teams that I'm comfortable throwing out there. One would be the Florida Panthers. We just spoke about them, but I believe the Panthers have stayed in touch, and I believe that they'll be part of that short list. The Buffalo Sabres, you may remember Kevin Adams, a GM in Buffalo, was a teammate of Patrick Kane way back. And I believe that Buffalo has stayed in that mix. A couple other teams that make sense, New York Rangers, where he finished last season, as well as Detroit. Obviously, there could be a couple more, but those are probably 4 teams that are a decent bet to be in the conversation.
Wouldn't it be cool for Patrick Kane to go back to Buffalo to sort of wrap up the later years of his career where he's from? That's really cool. Now, Pierre, before I let you go, I cannot leave you without talking about North America's football team. North America's team.
There you go.
The Dallas Cowboys. Now, they're coming off a tough loss to a division rival, but here's the good news. They're taking on another division rival this week, Pierre, and that division rival is 2-7. How are you feeling about your boys?
I'm feeling pretty good because isn't Danny DeVito the quarterback for the Giants right now? Oh, wait, not Danny DeVito, the actor, right?
That's Tommy DeVito.
I'm feeling like I haven't looked at the spread, but it's got to be double digits. Giants have a good defense, and so that might keep the game close. But Dak Prescott and the offense is humming. They went up and down the field on the Eagles despite losing that game. I'm feeling really good about a comfortable victory on Sunday against the New York Giants.
And if you can't trust Pierre, who can you trust, really? Pierre, you're the best. Always wonderful to chat with you. We will talk to you again soon. Take care.
All right, brother. See you, man.
When we return, the top 10 adventures outside the crease. Marty Biron will be back. It's all about the goalies, and it's fun.